Bring it back here. There you go. Bring in questions and let's start doing questions. Here we go. So we sort of already covered this at the end of part 2. Use D.Va ult for TP shield generator or avoid? Yes. Yes. A million times yes. For TP, it's like, it depends on if it's fresh or not, but if it's fresh, definitely. If it's like got 1 or 2 charges, best probably not. But yeah, just like let me put it this way, D.Va ultimate very rarely gets more than 1 or 2 targets, unless the enemy team is completely incompetent or stunned or super busy with other shit. So you can either try and get 1 or 2 kills, or you can get rid of something that can cause the entire enemy team to respawn faster, or the enemy team has tons more hit points and is that much harder to kill. To me, it's a bit of a no-brainer. Like, it's worth doing. It's so hard to sort of get rid of the D.Va. To build one of those up, especially in second point defenses. If you're running like mono support, or even if you're just running Symmetra in general, her power level is so diminished on those second point holds that losing the shield generator just losing the shield generator is such a big loss to them that you can generally push and win pretty much immediately. In a dive comp, when should you dive with your Winston? When should you be protecting your supports against their dive? You should in general be following the Winston. You'll sort of, the way you do it, the way you should think of it is this. So let's try and get a schematic of a dive going. So this red is the core of the enemy team. Okay? And then this blue is the core of our team. And so this is most likely to be our Zenyatta and Soldier 76, probably. Because Lucio can move around, Tracer can move around, Winston can move around, D.Va can move around. Pretending both teams are the same thing, which is Winston, D.Va, Zenyatta, Lucio. No, wait, I've fucked that up. So Winston, D.Va, Zenyatta, Lucio, Tracer, Genji, for example. So usually Zen, Lucio will be somewhere at the back. And these are sort of the core of the team that you'll be diving. The second you dive in, the enemy team should delta split and try and spread apart. The idea is this, you follow the Winston. So Winston goes here, for example. And then you can provide cover for the Winston to keep him alive. If their team dives on your team, you can also just turn around very easily. So you can just engage to about here. And then you can cover both, if necessary. And your support should still kind of be following you as best they can. The Zenyatta can pull into you, you can peel for him, so if they dive onto the Zen, then you can at least provide some cover for him. But in general, you want to be thinking more aggressively and providing cover for your Winston, because what can happen is this, okay? Think of it from the Zenyatta's perspective, where a Zenyatta is diving him, okay? Genji's dashed through him, and then the Winston's just going to finish him off. Like, we can block the Tracer's damage, we can block some of the Genji shurikens, but if they're meleeing and they're just trying to get round you, it's going to be a hard time to protect that. For the Winston's concerns, if the Zenyatta annihilates him or the Tracer focuses him, he can die extremely quickly, or if the D.Va shoots at him. So by not being able to be killed very quickly, like the only thing that can hurt him is the enemy Winston, he can get a lot of work done. Now, it depends on who dives who first. Sometimes you'll see teams do like a delayed dive, which is honestly, I find very effective. Which is where you just bide your time. And so you let them engage on you. So you let them engage on you, so you have like Winston and D.Va come forward, and then you just put the defense matrix over, and you can just block a lot of stuff happening for this Winston while your team just kills him. It works extremely well. Their D.Va will be trying to do the same thing, but if you just bide your time a little bit and then do it, yeah, you should just be able to win and kill him. I find that very effective. If your team dies first, cover the Winston. If their team dies first, then just cover as many DPS sources as possible. But honestly, like facing where the majority of their team is, putting defense matrix over whatever target they're trying to burn down first, all of that works very, very effectively. In general, remember that your job is still primarily to stop major sources of damage, and then maybe provide backup in finishing the Winston off with a lot of suddenly like tank busting power. But let the rest of your team especially strip his armor first, and then you can go in and sort of help with that. Can you talk a bit more on how to approach Horizon? Good heroes where to hold attack paths. If you can load a custom game, that would be swell. I'm not 100% on it myself, is the problem. We talk about what I've seen be effective and what I've seen work, and I can load into a custom game while we take another question. As we're entering the D.Va versus Reaper meta, how do you deal with each other? I'm still not 100% on Reaper being like super meta. I think Reaper is just a response to how the meta is at the moment. It's not that necessarily Reaper is powerful, it's more that stuff that Reaper is strong against is powerful, and the situation is starting to favor Reaper more. How I view it. Settings, maps, none. Horizon. Okay. Sort spectators. Start. The thing with Reaper is that he's very, very good at close range. He's very good at sort of long fights on the point and stuff like that. Makes it very strong. Look, Earth. Earth. But outside of that, he's kind of vulnerable. Dealing with Reaper is just a matter of just having a good D.Va play. Just shutting down. Whenever he gets in close, try and shut him down as long as possible, and then just try and burst him until he wraith forms. He has to back up at that point. Just bring down the defense matrix as much as you can so you can catch him when he comes out of it, and then try and burst him further. I don't recommend, like, don't just keep the defense matrix on him full time, because otherwise he'll wraith form and then you'll burn through it all and then he'll just kill people. Just try and block as much of his damage as you can. When he gets close, he's the biggest threat, so stop that, basically. When you're playing Reaper, just try and bait the defense matrix out. So the best way of doing it is just to, like, fire a shot, let it bring it up, and then just do your Reaper shrug. Don't give a shit anymore. And just wait it out, wait it out, wait it out. Defense matrix goes down, bang, bang, bang. Just keep firing. Then if you're in trouble, wraith form, back away, come back in a little bit as well. If you're getting healed up, for example, just go back in and just keep hammering through her. Once the defense matrix is down, blow her away as fast as you can. Get rid of that mech, and then you have free reign to do whatever you like. Then you're very, very powerful. Okay. Let's start on this. Let's start on Horizon. Let's talk a little bit about Horizon. So this map, like I said before, is in layout terms very, very different to how a lot of the 2CP maps work, just because it's so broad and open. Like, it's very different in shape. The result is that the defending team has no clear place to stand. I found, like, up here is my initial gut reaction and been most effective, just because you can see where the enemy team is approaching from. If you're holding from this balcony, you have cover to fall back to if you need healing. So you have a lot of space to play around with here. And you can see which way they're going. So if the enemy team tries to attack through and they try and go this route, for example, then you can see them doing it, and it's quite easy for you to just reposition over back onto the point. But then you can sort of end up a little bit out of position. But you have a big opportunity as they try and push through here to get a kill or two, to get a pick or two, which is sort of the ideal. It also means that your supports are usually going to be nice and safe and sort of tucked back here, which means that it's going to be very hard for the enemy team to do anything about that as they push onto the point. Other options for defense, I'd say, like, having one or two people over here, so having like a mobile hero defend from over here is generally quite effective, but it has to be called out if the enemy team pushes underneath, then he has to adapt. If you're unfamiliar with the layout of this map, it feels like that this door should open up to the enemy team side, but it doesn't. It actually goes down here, and then over to this little area over here. So this doesn't actually open in favor of the enemy team. In terms of attacking, you only have, well, you have 3 options available, effectively. Or maybe 4, depending on how loose you consider options. Okay? So you're basically funneled through this little area here. Everything leads through this space, so you have nowhere else to go. And so from here you have 2 options. You have basically 3 options, a split decision. You can either go through this side route, you can go straight through the middle and just try and brute force through the big open space. Not recommended in my mind. Or you can try and push to the left and try and get around the back of the point. Either of these 3 routes are possible. The reason why I favor this route over most of them is that it leads to like a further 3 decision points, and it's in cover as quickly as possible. So the vulnerability of going this way is that you are out of cover for a good period of time, but if you can speed boost through, the reward is pretty amazing because you end up sort of in this area behind the point and you have a lot of access to the point, which is quite strong. If you're going this way, then you have a couple of choices to make. You can either just push straight up the stairs, which is kind of a nasty choke point to go into. You can try and go under and just subvert him and go straight to the point, which works all right. Or you can go outside. Going outside to me is a complete death trap. If like having a flanker or a tracer or a Genji go out here is okay-ish, but having the entire team come out here, if you get caught, you're so slow moving and so vulnerable. The enemy team actually has this large health pack that's a bit closer to them as well when they reposition coming out here, that you are just going to get killed. I don't see it ever really working out. So while this is a cute gimmick area, the amount of times you should be going out here is pretty limited. Like, this to me is a path that Tracers can exploit. This is a path that Genjis can exploit, but not a path that anyone else can really use. It's very vulnerable. Your goal should be to just get onto the point, because once you're on the point, the enemy team has, like, the defenders have to push through these two little choke points, and so it's just extremely difficult to displace you. If you manage to get onto the point and sort of clear them out from behind you, then you basically have it. Characters that are good at close range fighting, going to be very strong on this point. Once you get to it, like, Reaper is going to be very strong, but until he gets there, it's going to be completely fucking useless. I would say that normal dive comps work extremely well on this map, just because there's a lot of space to play around with, a lot of vertical ground you can easily abuse. Trace has a couple of good flanking route options. There's a lot of pathways to dip in and out of. Health packs are relatively near, so if you don't know where the health packs are on this map, there's a large health pack down here, which is extremely useful. Like, that one is super, super good. There's a health pack over here, which is a small health pack, which is sort of behind the point. And there's another health pack in this little area over here as well. But the large health pack underneath is definitely the most useful one I found. This one is also pretty useful, but it's because it's a small health pack, it's so-so. You can usually sort of get away with bouncing between the two health packs back here. So this one, and then the one back over this way. Once the first point is fallen, second point is complete bullshit. Ignore this area. The hydroponics bay is really cool to look at, and it's a really cool little area. Functionally completely fucking useless. I don't think you'll ever be able to hold here unless you are really, really stomping. You might be able to get away with something quick because the respawn distances are completely and utterly fucking insane on this map, and it feels like Blizzard have not learned. This is part of why when we were playing it, not yet, like the other day, Ryan and Mist and I got so angry because this area feels like Blizzard have learned nothing. And the problem with this area is very simple, is that the spawn room is extremely close to where the point is. It's a huge open area. There's 3 attack paths. Well, yeah, there's technically sort of 3 attack paths into it. There's, well, okay, technically there's 4, but most people just use the 3. Path up here, path here, path here. There is technically the path down here, but I don't think you would ever really want to go down there unless you're catching the enemy team off guard somehow by just speed boosting through and getting straight into the point, but otherwise, not a great idea. When defending, I'd say like holding up here is usually your best bet, just because you're overlooking the point, you can see the other attack paths, you have nice high ground advantage. The danger is that this space back here, like we can go and take a look at it, is actually pretty strong for the attackers. There's a large health pack just tucked a little bit further back. There's a lot of cover for them. They can take their time pushing through this, but it basically ends up very similar to how Hanamura ends up when you're pushing the high ground up there. It's just a bit wider and visibility is a bit better for your team. You also are forced through a single option, rather at Hanamura you kind of have a choice of going onto the balcony area or going onto like the super high ground area. So you have sort of a choice on Hanamura you don't here. That makes it very tricky. But like I said before, the big problem with this map is this. So basically, you spawn about here, and I think the theory is that the distance you have to run while in spawn room is long enough to where, you know, oh, you have to run so far from the spawn room that you have to get to the point. The problem is that as you pretty much leave the spawn room instantly, you are full health until you get to here, and then you can sort of walk out here, and then you can see the point pretty much immediately. Up until recently as well, Mercy, like I think Mercy could still probably do this, where you just stand in here, enemy team cannot do damage while you're stood here. And this is what happened to us on when we were playing. Mercy literally just stood in here, then to res on the point, she just had to run out to here, and then she could res the point. That's fucking ridiculous. That is absolutely insane, because there's no way when you are attacking that you want to be in a position where you're trying to take this area back here, and it's insane. It's absolutely insane. Like, it's nuts to me. And the reason why it's so frustrating is because, like, Blizzard know the complaints about 2CP by now. Like, they know what the problem is with 2CP. They know what people don't like. And this is just not fixing it. This is everything wrong with Hanamura in a nutshell. Everything wrong. Yeah, I'd say mostly with Hanamura. I'd say Temple of Anubis is okay. Like, if they changed the spawn distance on Temple of Anubis, it would probably actually be quite a fun map to play. Like, I wouldn't mind it so much. But when, like, this map is just going to have a constant issue of just people stalling it and stalling it and stalling it and stalling it. And if people just start trickling in one by one, just defending the point, get Tracer, runs out, stalls, Mei runs out, stalls, D.Va runs out, stalls, you can have a pretty much infinite stall. It is also worth mentioning, by the way, that you can actually stand on top of this moving arm. You can stand up here in Widow. It's not that great, to be honest, but it can work. Widowmaker actually is relatively good on this map. Got a nice defensive perch back here if you should need it. Sightlines are ridiculously long as well, so if you're on attack, Widowmaker should be mostly playing on attack, in my mind. you generally have like a lot of good angles. So if I like look through the middle here, you can see that I can see a lot of the point just by using this middle ground. You also have this space over here to play with the health pack just to the right, and importantly, if you go back here, there's a large health pack over here that you can use. If the enemy team is all focused on defending the high ground and you get Widowmaker over here, you have good line of sight onto where they are. You might get a bit isolated, but there's a health pack you can bounce to, and then another health pack you can bounce to back here. So there's actually a lot of good positions to sort of push around the side here, and you can also abuse the shit out of this as Tracer and Genji. This side area is very, very nice for you. Also worth mentioning, there's a small health pack back here. Not sure how many people know about this one, but it's fucking useful if you're just getting caught into a long fight in the point, need some cover. The little rover jeep thing is worth just playing around with because it gives you some cover, gives you a health pack, and you can sort of use that to stay alive. Otherwise, yeah. So heroes that are good, dive comp is very good. You've just got to make sure that you are winning the second area, so as resoundingly as possible. On defense, the second area, stalling heroes are fucking amazing and overpowered as fuck. I'd say like Reinhardt, first point, not so great. Second point could work, but once you get out into the open here, it's going to be very similar to Hanamura. Reinhardt will get you through the door, but then it's up to everyone else to actually take the point. Just because this is such a spread out area, fights usually get very chaotic and spread all over the place, so it's very difficult to just sort of do much here as Reinhardt until you get onto the point, and then you can land a big fat juicy earth shatter and generally catch everyone. So Reinhardt says so Winston D.Va feels like the ideal right now. As Overwatch has become very fluid and very mobile, that feels very strong. Say that Reaper is... I don't like Reaper on this map much, just because... like, he's going to be useless until you get onto the point. Like, if you're attacking and you're trying to play Reaper, then what are you going to do? Like, you stood here, you've got to get through, like, up here, you've got to get into the enemy team, and then maybe you can do some work up here, then maybe just use these narrow areas to go through and try and fight here, but then when you're pushing the second point, like, the second you step out here, enemy team is so spread out, has so many ways they can run away from you, so many places they can go. I don't see Reaper working second point. Soldier 76 feels a lot better just because you can clean up faster, can kill everything. Like, line of sight to hide from him is relatively difficult and sparse. I mean, you can use the pillars for cover, and you can sort of try and cover behind this thing, but the rest of the team should still be pushing on you, so that's going to be a little bit tricky. So I definitely say Soldier is going to work very well here. Widowmaker on attack, I think, is going to be okay on this map. And we'll see how it shakes out. Like, we need more data on it, but I will say again, this map disappoints me. It disappoints me because it feels like Blizzard had a chance to sort of try and show the community, hey, no, we understand the frustrations of 2CP, but we can fix that. We can make it work. We can make 2CP really fun. And they failed. They really failed. Do I coach GM? Yes, I do. Send it in. There's yeah, beautiful. And I pick from some. I'm looking like more footage, always the best. Always the best. Especially PC footage. A lot of people sending in PS4 and Xbox footage. I'll occasionally do PS4 and Xbox. We might do some PS4 and Xbox tomorrow, but I prefer like PC. Can D.Va be the main diver tank with a slower tank with the half dive mess and solo queue? No, I would say. The reason why is because D.Va is like Reinhardt in that she can only do one thing at a time. She can only do tanking or DPS. The thing with Winston is he can do DPS to a bulk of enemy units. If he starts hitting more than one target, his damage output is actually pretty solid, while still providing tanking. D.Va cannot. So if you think about like a dive that's focused around D.Va instead of Winston, D.Va dives in and then holds down right mouse button. Yeah. That's exciting. So I'd say that if you're playing with a slower tank and you're playing D.Va, your job is not to play dive. Your job is to cover that other tank as best you can, or to facilitate what they're trying to do. Zarya, like I'm imagining Zarya or Roadhog here. If you're playing with a Reinhardt, then just help the Reinhardt push forward. Stop his barrier going down super fast. Block high damage impact stuff that's hitting his barrier, like Pharah shots, Symmetra Orb, stuff like that. Just try and block enemy fire strikes where you can. Block as much of that shit as you humanly can, and then just enable the Reinhardt to push forward really aggressively. With Zarya and Roadhog, you're mostly looking to just like give Roadhog a corridor so he can push forward and then throw a hook and try and get a kill, or try and at least hook the person and pull them out of position. with Zarya, you are trying to facilitate her gaining charge as quickly as possible. Be very careful with your defense matrix when you're working with a Zarya. Be aware that the Zarya wants to gain charge. I've seen it time and time again where D.Vas like anti-synergize and will not let their Zaryas get any charge because they're trying to protect the Zarya. If Zarya's running forward like a freaking idiot, he's probably trying to bait some charge. So let her do that first, let her take some damage, and then if she's not reacting, then you block. More messages below, apparently. Letting me know. Is there situations where D.Va should not use her defense matrix and soak damage with her HP instead? Like if the fight's winding down, then maybe. Although even then, I'd say it's more okay. It's like scaling threats is the best way to explain that. I want to draw a graph, but it's probably actually not going to be effective as a visual aid. Let's pretend that there is a Zarya, a Reaper, and a Soldier 76 all shooting at you. And it's like 2 minutes have passed in the game, none of them use their ultimates. If the Soldier's just like putting a couple of bullets into you every now and then, but shooting you from long range, you're being healed up, don't bother blocking it. Or don't use huge volumes of defense matrix to block it. If you stand there and try and absorb all the damage he's putting into you, then he's literally baiting you. Because then what he can do, and like I wish I saw more soldiers doing this because it works for fucking charm. I do it myself quite often in chat. Then Plat Chat usually comes in and goes, "Hey, why are you using Visor with D.Va alive?" If you like shoot a shitload into the D.Va and you see she's using a defense matrix for a couple of seconds, you can usually just nano visor afterwards. Because what happens is she blocks the first second and then everyone dies. It works wonders. So be very careful about like using too much defense matrix if you're waiting out a graviton, because they can be baiting that out. Grav you can generally be a little bit more liberal around because you can usually estimate when the Zarya is going for it. Like Zarya will usually run forward and be aiming up a little bit. Spoiler. Otherwise she might be running on like literally into the team and then try and grab her feet. That doesn't work anymore if you aren't aware, so just put the defense matrix over her and then just try and stop it that way. Same with Reaper, he's very easy to predict, but again, try and avoid going under half defense matrix. So it's just a matter of like scaling threats. If you're about to lose your mech, then sure, use defense matrix. Like you're better off absorbing stuff into defense matrix than losing your mech, because then they're just going to ult anyway. But don't use all of it, is basically the bottom line. If there's a threat of enemy ultimates, it's your job to try and catch them. At least put an attempt in. Like, I don't think anyone will begrudge a D.Va that lets a graviton slip through. But if the D.Va makes literally no attempt to block it, I will be a little bit frustrated. So pro screens go left all the way around and end up behind point. Sounds about right. Like I'd just say with that, the vulnerability is that the enemy team dives you as you're trying to get there. But you're pretty strong while doing that. Does defense matrix block an enemy D.Va bomb? No. No. If it deleted the mech, that would be pretty spectacular. You could just imagine one of the little blue lasers go boop, and then the mech just vanishes. No, it doesn't. The thing with D.Va bomb that you can use though is if both D.Vas have D.Va bomb, if one D.Va ults first, and then you get blown out of your mech by their self-destruct, you use yours. By the time they usually got back into... So what will usually happen is this. There's like a sequence of events. So, enemy D.Va uses the self-destruct. Very quickly draw a bunny. Okay, so she uses defense matrix. She uses self-destruct. She presses the button. Timeline happens. It explodes. Timeline happens. Time passes. He gets a new mech. More messages below, apparently. I don't know why chat's doing that. I'm going to very quickly draw this. More messages below. What? Okay, so this is the timeline for the enemy D.Va. If she uses Q, we get demech'd, and then we use our self-destruct here. Like, I'm spending way too much time drawing these, but I'm having fun doing it. This is the derpiest looking fucking rabbit. Then what you'll usually find is as she's getting back into her mech, ours explodes, and it just instantly kills their mech. And then we get back into our mech. They don't have a mech, we have a mech, we have advantage. So it's kind of a cool thing you can use, where if you know you have self-destruct ready, and you can just stay on the... Like, if they're trying to clear the point, for example, so if they're fighting on a control point, and then they use it as a way of trying to clear the point, and you can just sort of stay on the point, soak it, make sure that you're staying contesting, and then when you get blown out of the mech, just press Q, and as the mech is blowing up, you'll actually get you'll get your self-destruct off. They'll have to run away. The D.Va usually pretty much immediately gets back into her mech as well after like the moment it explodes, so you can usually pick up the D.Va, and then you will have a mech they won't, so you'll have an advantage. I like this bat. I like this bunny rabbit. Tips on how to use Defense Matrix economically for new D.Va players. Don't be afraid to just spend a moment recharging it. I think the biggest mistake that I used to make, and I think D.Vas make this quite a lot, is where you just keep mashing right mouse button and like you keep flicking it on and off and you just never let it recharge. Just don't be afraid to just sit back a couple of seconds, let it recharge back up, and then come back out and have a lot of Defense Matrix to play with. Also just avoid, like we saw V Logos doing this a couple of times, where you like be turning around and flying away and still had Defense Matrix up. Just be very, very quick on dropping Defense Matrix when it's not doing anything. When you're not putting it at the enemy team, when the enemy team is shooting in a different direction, stuff like that, just bring it down as fast as possible. Because making sure you have it available for the times you do need it and making sure that you have as much of it as possible is going to make a big difference to the enemy team's damage output. So yeah. Thoughts on the new map, we covered that. I ran into a lot of situations where I'm using Defense Matrix to stop a lot of damage spam, fire or Junkrat, but as a result I'm usually low when attack visor or Death Blossom goes out. How can you tell when you should be blocking high damage through a choke or saving and recharging Death Matrix for incoming ultimates? This is the enemy team playing well, but you've got to consider, like, there's two things to consider. First is, what is your other tank? So you should be trying to block some of it, but I would say, like in general, like I said before, try and avoid going under half if you know that they have some big ultimates around. And then B, like, it's either your team dies to the Farah, like let's say they have a pharmacy and a Soldier 76. If your team's going to die to the pharmacy, you've got to block the pharmacy regardless. When you are blocking like Farahs and Junkrats, just make sure that you're flicking the Defense Matrix up because the rockets have travel time. So the way that so let's say that, like, again with timeline stuff, so this is button press, this circle is button press. And so what happens with the rocket is there is a travel time, okay? And then it hits target. Boom. With hit scan, it's button press. And then this is time, instantly hits target. There's no travel time. Okay? This is a really shitty explosion, but you get the idea. Hit scan, no travel time, rockets have travel time. If you catch the rocket in any time across this, it counts as being picked up. You have no time to play with here, you have time to play with here. So you can usually see a rocket come in, you just flick the Defense Matrix into the rocket's path, you scoop the rocket out of the sky, rocket does no damage. With Soldier 76 and stuff, you've got to be a bit more careful, just scoop up the occasional bit of damage, bring the Defense Matrix back down, let your other tank a bit, recharge your Defense Matrix back up, then put yours back up, let the tank recharge a bit. Just try and also watch for the enemy team, like if they haven't used ults in a while, then just be very, very aware that they are trying to bait out your Defense Matrix, like I described before. Like,
welcome to Overwatch.
Oh Jesus, that actually made me jump.
Oh,
Red Brazer Aaron, hey!
Bag feels good,
Shiny new bag. I think that's shiny new badge. Feels good, man, though. Thank you for sticking around for 3 months. But yeah, just try and like use it sparingly, basically, until you need it. Absorb what damage you can, but like, there's nothing also wrong with selling the team. Guys, they probably have this ultimate, so I'm gonna hold on to Defense Matrix, and then if anyone even calls you out on it, it's just like, yeah, okay, well, I said exactly what I'm gonna do. You know what I'm doing. If I'm hacked as D.Va, should I try and hide and wait for it to wear off to conserve mech HP, or should I try and do as much damage as I can? I'd say it depends on the situation. Like, if she hacks you at the start of a fight, then just peeling back a little bit and being careful. I would say just fall behind, like back behind your tank, because what you're going to want is when the hack wears off, you need your Defense Matrix back up as quickly as possible. The enemy team, like, sequence of events, I'll spare you drawing a timeline. Sequence of events is usually EMP or hack goes off, enemy team tries to take advantage, enemy team tries to do something, enemy team wins fight. So what you want to try and do is, between point enemy team gets hack, enemy team gets advantage, there's probably not much you can actually do. And if you run forward and get demeched, that's enemy team taking advantage right there. So fall back a bit, don't do anything crazy, don't do anything stupid, bide your time, try and survive for as long as possible. So I'd definitely say, like, play cautiously. Then when the hack wears off, bring Defense Matrix back up, stop what the enemy team's trying to do, try and prevent as much damage, and you're basically in triage mode. Like, you're trying to just stop the bleeding, prevent as much damage as possible. Don't go on the offensive, don't try and kill people, leave that to other stuff. Just buy time for your healers to pick people back up, buy time for your team to reposition and fight again, and then you can sort of keep the ball rolling. I noticed a lot in that game that I tunnel vision, losing sight of the big picture. Any advice for maintaining the big picture? Watching VODs is the best advice I can give. So, like, record other VODs. You don't even have to send them to me. Please don't send all of them to me. Just send occasional snippets of, like, send occasional ones. Because what you'll find is, as you watch it back, you'll see, oh, I didn't see that. I didn't even know this was happening. I didn't even know this was happening. And then when you start seeing it in game, you can actually recognize a lot easier. This is very similar to that situation. And just spend games, like, focused on training on doing other things. So if you do notice, man, I'm really not keeping track of this Reaper, then just adjust your play and then just spend that game. Okay, I'm going to just try and keep an eye out for where this Reaper is. If I don't know where this Reaper is, I'm going to be looking for him. I'm going to be trying to spot out where he's going, and then just start focusing and playing on those, focusing on those aspects. And as you do it more and more and more, it gets easier to do, and you can sort of develop it from there. When should you kill yourself as Baby D.Va, and when should you try and build up mech? If you're in the middle of a fight, just build up the mech if there's large targets to fight. Basically, when you've won a team fight, just try and kill yourself as quickly as possible. If there's opportunities to do so, just do it quickly. Do not waste time in doing so. If the enemy, like, because the danger is this, okay? When you are in Baby D.Va form, you do more damage and you can spam really effectively, but A, you die super easily. B, you have no defensive pressure at all. And so what the enemy team should be doing is going, okay, we can just run in, throw a grab out and win. Like, that's literally what's running through the enemy team's mind. It feels so much easier just to do stuff. So if you're trying to build it up while the enemy team's pushing in, the enemy team's already used ultimates and already won the fight. So the idea is to try and do it as quickly as possible. So you win the defensive fight, and then you just jump off, get your mech back, and then go from there. What I would be careful with is doing what the pros do, which is like swapping hero and then swapping back and just ditching all your ultimate charge, just because the pros are a lot more coordinated, especially if you are, like, I'd say this is more true for gold, platinum level, maybe less true for diamond and stuff. Because self-destruct is just more powerful at lower levels, so keeping a hold of self-destruct is going to be more valuable. So if you aren't aware, what the pros sometimes will do is if they lose mech, for example, and there's nothing to kill themselves on, so first point Temple of Anubis moving to second point, for example, you'll often see the pros just run into the spawn room that opens up, change hero, and then change back to D.Va, just to get a fresh mech, but be on 0% ultimate charge. For them, it's worthwhile, the trade-off. For you guys in regular ranked, I'd say that's less true. And I'd say that it's only really worth doing if you've got like 0 ultimate charge in the push. If you've got like 60-70%, then it might be worth keeping a hold of D.Va and just using that bomb aggressively. So yeah. I was just watching how Africa Blue and Lunatic High match and saw how effective D.Va was being used. Don't know if you watched the semi-finals, but man, it was epic. The thing that Koreans are super good at is just managing defense matrix and making D.Va, like every single moment of D.Va count. Like, people have gotten really good at just squeezing every last bit of juice out of D.Va. Really, really good. I'm also aware that, like, I've been going on questions for a while now. Chat's really scrolled down. So I have no idea what's happening in actual live chat at the moment. I find defense matrix buggy when trying to use it as a wall to block damage. Is it me? There's restrictions or range. Could you please explain how it works? Besides the kind of protection over teammate, it just feels like it sometimes doesn't work when I'm clearly using it. It's a little bit narrower than you would think, is the only advice I can give you. So basically, like, from the front view, defense matrix projects a graphic, which is kind of like this, and then it sort of perspective zooms out, you know, and it does its like block thing. Right? Just think of it as more like a little bit inside that and a little bit narrower. Like, this is not a good representation. But think of it just being a little bit thinner, and then just try and put it between the target that you're trying to protect. Or just put it like, put the target that you're trying to defend dead center in the middle of it, and that will protect it. It's just an experience thing as well. Like, you get used to how the defense matrix actually works. Because the way it works, like, from a technical point of view, it is literally just a cone that projects out from D.Va, and if anything enters the cone that is a projectile, it just gets deleted. Like, it just gets removed. Instantly now. Used to have a little bit of leeway, now it has none. So any projectile entering that cone, deleted, gone. So yeah, you've just got to make sure that the cone is in the right position. It takes practice, but my advice is, yeah, just treat the cone being a bit narrower than you think it is, and play from there. Arrays in D.Va players will reflect in arrays of Sombra players as well. In Sombra, this is addressed as a question, but isn't a question, it's a statement. It's a statement I agree with. Yes, I agree. I think Sombra like Sombra's already been picking up more and more and more. I'd say like also the change to seeing Reaper coming in more and more is off the back of D.Va becoming more prevalent. And I'd say Sombra is like definitely in the same position. The problem with Sombra is still like if you aren't playing defensive 2CP with Sombra, you are very much like a one-trick team where if they react properly to the EMP, you're going to struggle, but I definitely see Sombra becoming more popular. What headphones do you have and how much do they cost? These are, yeah, that's actually out of date. I need to update it. These are Sennheiser. Can't remember the actual fucking name of these. They're okay, I would say. The sound quality is fucking great, as you would expect. The only issue I have with these is the ear cups. Like I have a very large head, and I've been booted from that game. I have a very big head, if you didn't notice, and so. And also, I wear headphones all day, so having... I'm a man who likes big cups. And these are a little bit smaller than my old ones, which is this old beaten Logitech set. The issue I have with the Logitech set is it's very heavy. So these bits of metal, and that adds a lot of weight. But the cups on these things are fucking huge. So they sit very comfortably on top of you. Been sort of just getting used to these. The plastic, so they're lightweight. The build seems fine, they're relatively comfortable, but just wearing them for a long period of time is kind of tiring, I guess. They're also very tight on my head, in terms of like just clamping on the ears, so it's very good for soundproofing, but you'll notice when I do Coaching the Many, I sit like this, and that's because the soundproofing is so good I literally can't hear myself speak. They do have like an in-ear voice function that I need to sort of get better at turning off and on, and I might just use that from the future, but still, yeah. Headphones. Feels good, man. Let's get back to the hero gallery. Let's bring D.Va up. Votes. Dance. Beautiful. Let's do one or two more questions because I've been going for a while. Can we send in Twitch VODs that have exported to YouTube with an overlay, nothing big, some text here and there? Yes, you can.
No
hey!
Joke this time. Just a thank you for still being awesome.
Thank you for sticking around, CT Lianon. Always appreciated, my man. Yeah, 6K bitrate is ideal. 3K isn't too bad. If it's like 30 FPS, then okay, fair enough. Like I'll look at the quality when I look at the videos. I will judge them for quality as well. And sometimes it's very pea-soupy, but if it's a relevant video, I'm fine watching it.
Silly.
Hey!
Josh loves big cups and cannot lie.
Damn straight, Kral. Damn straight. Let's see. We'll get one or two more questions. Winston can jump from his spawn point to the room outside. Winston can jump from his spawn room, his spawn point in the room to outside of the room to be right at the point. Oh, I know what you mean. So yeah, if you think about, so this is on defense. If you think about the spawn room, it has like that barrier thing to try and stop people just using these abilities. Winston can apparently jump over that. I actually wasn't 100% on that, but thanks for sharing that. That is very useful to know. They moved that no damage zone further back. I think they just need to move people back or just restructure the fucking spawn area. Good anti position on the map is at the back left in the small alcove area. Be careful saying back left. So, schematic. This is where the chat's literally catching up to me doing that. So, the area that I kind of like as Anna is like there's this stairs here. The issue with like defending from here, so there's like the staircase here that you can play around with and just try and hide up here. The problem with this is that your team usually is like, you have like the lineup problem where your team stood up here. I think Tom's referring to like being more on the opposite side, which can work. I can see that working just fine. I'll usually play around here and then just try and like sort of drop back and see, try and make sure people don't defend up here too aggressively or just try and like hit the wall here with grenades. But it does get tricky. Like I find this actually to be a very tricky anim map on defense, just because people tend to bundle up. If you can get away with just like being on the high ground back here or just being up here, over here, unmolested, then you can get a lot done. Why is D.Va still in this video game, Faramain? To stop people like you having free reign. Honestly, like, well, I'll finish on this, okay? I am a firm believer, and I've said this since D.Va's inception, that Defense Matrix is kind of an anti-fun ability. I've never liked its design, and I know I am not alone in that. The reason why is pretty simple. A a lot of abilities in Overwatch are generally like, you get to do cool thing. They're usually very proactive, cool thing happens, and then you get player of the game and you feel fucking amazing. D.Va is kind of the antithesis of this. Cool thing tries to happen, but cool thing goes bloop and then literally vanishes with no fanfare, no nothing. And the usual reaction to D.Va catching something big with her defense matrix is, oh wait, I got it. It's not like, oh my god, this really cool thing happened. It's just like, oh wait, this happened. And so it's like, it's just unsatisfying and it's unfun to try and do something and then just have it vanish. It's not that the enemy team did a big counterplay. It's not that the enemy team did anything particularly clever or decisive or contributed huge resources. It's just that they so happen to have defense matrix in the right place and then shut it down. And so it's kind of, don't know why this is happening, it's kind of obnoxious. And so I can see with D.Va changes in the future, they need to look at defense matrix in the long term, I think, for just the health of the game. I don't know whether they need to make it drain proportionally to whatever she's eaten. They definitely need to improve player feedback on it, and I think they know about this problem where the player feedback on defense matrix is garbage. And they need to just, I don't know, do something better with it, because as it is now, it's just, ugh. Would you recommend flying into a McCree when he's at the beginning of his ult? Yes. The idea is you body block as many of the shots as possible, because there's actually a good chance that he just shoots into the mech even while it's dying, and if he kills the mech, then sure, but he didn't kill the entire team. When does Arisa's Hulk get deleted by Matrix? It does, but like I said, the Matrix visuals are a little bit bigger than the Matrix actually is. Okay, that's it for questions. Thank you everyone who did ask some. I'm going to scroll all the way down. I apologize to everything I missed. Hey, there's only so long this can go. If you do want to send footage in, then send it into the link on the screen, and it's also in the description below if you're watching on YouTube. But send it into oamreviews@gmail.com. Include in the title the hero name and the rank that the game is played at. Also include if you're a Twitch subscriber or not. Twitch subs have a little bit of higher priority. So, for example, this was a long-time sub of having V Logos. So thank you for submitting that, Logos. It's hugely appreciated. It's always a little bit bold to send footage in. And so yeah, it was good to have you. Hopefully a lot was learned about D.Va. I think it was a good session. If you do want to come join us live as well, we are live every Friday and Saturday at 10 PM British time, which is British summertime at the moment. BST on 10 PM Friday, Saturday. Come join us. I tweet about it as well, so follow me on Twitter. Every day that I stream, I usually try and tweet half an hour before and then usually about 5 minutes before I start as well, so you can always find out then as well. Otherwise, thank you for watching to the end. It's been good. Doodles. Boom, YouTube's gone. Oh. Ugh.